Broseley Pipe Works is a 19th century clay tobacco pipe factory located in Broseley, Shropshire, England, within the area of the famous Ironbridge Gorge World Heritage Site, and is one of 10 museums in the care of the Ironbridge Gorge Museums Trust, which together tell the story of the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution in the mid-18th century. I visited in September 2011 and had a self-guided tour, learning about the pipe making process from the information boards and exhibits on display, from shaping the raw clay to firing the finished products. From churchwarden pipes to Dutch long straws, the museum showcases the variety and ingenuity of these then everyday objects, including pipes for medicinal purposes. For centuries, every smoker knew that a Broseley was the finest quality clay tobacco pipe you could buy. Records of pipes made in Broseley go as far back as 1590, with production reaching its peak in the 17th century. Pipes were sent all over the world. In its heyday, I have read that 2 workshops in the town made as many as 5 million pipes a year. Sounds unbelievable. This factory in particular was used for pipe making from 1881. After the First World War, few people smoked clay tobacco pipes. Working people smoked cigarettes. The middle and upper classes smoked wooden pipes or cigars. Changes in factory ownership increased costs, and the general decline in clay pipe usage led to less of the available production space being used, and by the 1950s only 3 people were involved in the process. It was the last pipe-making factory in Broseley, and when it closed in the late 1950s, 300 years of a famous Broseley tradition came to an end. The buildings were abandoned, with all the equipment for making clay tobacco pipes left inside. As time passed, the buildings and their contents became a time capsule of a lost and forgotten industry, and their fabric began to deteriorate. In many other towns in the 1960s, redundant buildings like this may have been demolished, but their importance was recognised, and in February 1974 the buildings got statutory protection when they were Grade 2 listed by English Heritage. In 1993, renovation of the buildings into a time capsule and museum began. Most of the buildings were unsafe, some were falling down, and floors had given way. In making everything structurally sound, great care was taken not to destroy the historical integrity of the buildings. The standards required for restoration were very strict. Oak was used for new floor joists and roof beams, and elm boards used to mend floors. Nothing that could be saved was replaced. Most repairs left the building looking as though it had been unchanged for years, though there were some additional beam supports and a new external fire escape. Recognised globally as the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, the area had seen visitor numbers fall since the 2020 COVID pandemic, from 450,000 annually to around 330,000 in 2024. As a result, the museum was closed for the 2025 season due to financial difficulties experienced by the Ironbridge Gorge Museums Trust, caused by increased costs and the lower visitor numbers arising from the cost of living crisis. The volunteers that ran the museum were not properly consulted and felt that for the few days a year it was open, it should have remained so. To secure the future of the Trust's 10 museum sites and 35 listed buildings, it was decided towards the end of 2025 that they will be transferred to the care of the National Trust in March 2026, supported by a £9 million grant from the government. This is the first occasion the National Trust will have acquired a site previously operated by a museum trust. To add to the financial burden of the trust, two of the riverside museums, the Museum of the Gorge and the Coalport China Museum, have suffered serious flooding. I hope you enjoyed this brief look around the Broseley Pipeworks. Please remember the site is presently closed and will be under new management in 2026, namely the National Trust. So if interested in visiting, you will need to look out for any notifications relating to the museum, and bear in mind that opening times may be limited to high visitor periods such as Easter and the summer holidays. Given its age, it's not the easiest of buildings to wander around, particularly for those with mobility issues, as many of the exhibits are upstairs, floors are uneven, and there are also wooden stairs to negotiate. Whether tours will be guided or self-guided remains to be seen. About an hour should be sufficient for a visit.